This is what they're calling the HP Stream series of machines, which are primarily intended to compete with Chromebooks, tablets, and primarily be a netbook type replacement. They're not calling them netbooks anymore, but this would certainly fit the bill, even if it's just a little bit larger than the original netbooks that came out. Now, for my preliminary investigation, it does seem like there's many different HP Stream series laptops currently available, new and old alike. My particular one happens to be of the HP Stream 14-CB115DS variety. There's a Kensington lock on the left side, and a full-size HDMI port, which is very nice. Don't need to use an adapter to connect that up to your TV. You just use a regular cable, like one you would use with a Blu-ray player. And then there's 3 USB ports, 2 of which are, I believe that SS denotes super speed or USB 3.0. There's also a headphone jack that doubles as a headset jack if you happen to be using one that has an integrated microphone. There's an SD card slot and your power light. On the right side, well, it's practically devoid of any input or output ports save for the charge port. And there is a light that indicates its charging status, in this case red, because the battery is almost totally dead. The power button up here, unlike many other laptops, does not light up to indicate that it is powered on. You do have to refer to the power light on the side otherwise. So you have your power button here, and overall this is a very small form factor computer. This is the HP Stream 14 something or other, and the 14 in that model number does denote this having a 14-inch screen. So while nowhere near as big as some laptops, like a 15.6-inch, I believe, screen, or even a 17-inch screen or bigger, this 14-inch screen is more than enough for most intents and purposes. Everything that I've thrown at it so far, it's handled decently well. So this is a very small form factor computer, very reminiscent of the netbooks from circa 2009 to 2010. The only problem there, the only difference primarily being is obviously the operating system, some of the newer features it comes with, like an HDMI port, but also the lack of serviceability, which may or may not be a good thing depending on how you look at it. If you look at the back of the machine, there are no screw holes. There's really no way to get into this thing, although I'm sure you could if you tried hard enough. And that's because it comes with an internal solid-state flash memory, as well as a non-upgradable, I believe 4 gigabytes of RAM flash memory. So everything is pretty much going to stay the way it is once you buy it. There's really no way for the end user to get in there and start modifying and upgrading things as they see fit, which again could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. However, one good thing about that, of course, is the lack of a fan, so there's no background noise, and it's very little heat generated by this unit while it's running. There are 2 stereo speakers on the left and right bottom of the computer, which actually have decent audio fidelity, especially when using the built-in HP Audio Manager to fine-tune the sound characteristics. There is also a webcam and a built-in microphone. I've very seldom used the web camera, which is the reasoning behind my putting a piece of tape over it. However, the microphone is of surprising clarity and quality. Most netbook and laptop microphones are just dreadful. They pick up tons of interference and noise and rumbling, especially if it happens to have a built-in fan. But with this computer being totally solid state, the audio it's able to record is surprisingly crystal clear. This doesn't have a regular touchpad in that there's a lack of a left and right mouse button. And they've kind of gone the MacBook way. I personally don't like the way it's employed here. It's kind of buggy and hit or miss. But to left click, you'd obviously click the left lower corner of the touchpad and the right lower corner of the touchpad for the right mouse button. And this works only about 50% of the time in my experience. The right button being a lot more reliable, whereas the left mouse button ends up right-clicking and not responding, or double-clicking. So I have quite a few issues with that. Now, unfortunately, one of the drawbacks of this being a modern netbook, it is running Windows 10, and with that comes the never-ending deluge of updates. This computer's been powered off for probably the past 2 weeks. In the midst of doing a couple things to get it ready for this video presentation, just decided to kind of lock itself up and stop responding. So I went ahead and powered it off, only to be greeted by a getting your system ready, the update screen that Windows 10 shows when it's updating. And I don't know why it asks me to do this almost every time it updates. Your device needs to connect to a few more Microsoft services and all the stuff I've previously disabled, such as Windows Hello and enhancing my web browsing experience and using OneDrive, and yet it continues to incessantly ask me. So now I have to go through everything and get my settings back. So let's see, don't update. No, I don't want to use my Android phone. And so here we are at the Windows 10 home screen, otherwise known as the desktop. I have gone ahead and configured quite a few things as per my liking, because there's quite a few different features and facets of Windows 10 that I could live the rest of my life without having to deal with. And this computer actually came with a free 1-year trial to Microsoft Office, whatever this current version is, that comes with a ribbon up top. I'm a little out of the loop, so to speak, because I still use Office 2003. Whatever is the most recent version, that's what this is running. I did take it upon myself to make use of the free Office Word trial to put together a bulleted list of all the modifications I made to Windows 10 to get it to my liking. And we can certainly go through each and every one of them, but that would take far too long. But suffice it to say that I disabled the Bing web search in the start menu, so that when you type in here, it doesn't just start randomly searching the internet, which I don't want it to do that. If I want to search the internet, I'll use my web browser. Also disabled the lock screen, enabled the ask to confirm deleting a file, so that if you go to click delete, it'll actually ask you if you want to permanently delete it. I believe Windows 10's default behavior is just to permanently delete it. It never asks for confirmation. And then there's a couple of other different features, such as disabling and uninstalling OneDrive and Cortana. I installed Windows Maps. I've turned off taskbar badges. I removed tiles from the start menu. Added folder shortcuts back to the start menu. Opened this PC instead of quick access when opening File Explorer. And a couple other different things. This computer is equipped with an Intel Celeron N4020 CPU, clocked at 1.10 gigahertz and 4 gigabytes of RAM. And this is running a 64-bit version of Windows 10. And specifically, this is version 20H2 of Windows 10, which in my case was installed on November 15th of 2020. And that's the build version. Now, my particular computer happened to come installed with quite a bit of bloatware. It wasn't all that bad, especially when I think back to previous netbooks that came with Windows XP. They were just loaded chock full of crap. And in fact, as it sits right now, I don't even have that much stuff on this computer. If I go to videos, there was one video that I saved off of YouTube. Shouldn't even be any pictures on here, really, just a couple screenshots and reference charts. And then there's a few documents, but those hardly take up any space. And as it stands right now, there's only 22.5 gigabytes more or less free out of 57.5. So it is a good thing that they added at least an SD card slot, so you can get something like an 128 gigabyte or a 256 gigabyte SD card to definitely expand upon the somewhat meager internal storage that this computer comes with. There is no way, as far as I know, at present with the current version of Windows 10 to fully uninstall Cortana, and I have disabled it using the registry because this is the home version of Windows 10. It's not the professional version, so there's no easy way to use the group policy editor. So now with my modifications to the start menu, it does look something approaching what you would find in Windows 7 or XP. A little bit easier for me to navigate and not so distracting. It just has a list of my programs here. I mean, I didn't want to see live tiles with Xbox advertisements and OneDrive advertisements. So as it stands right now, I don't have that many programs installed on this computer. This is just being used as a light-duty sort of internet kiosk type PC, if you will, if I need to look something up, check the weather, save a PDF, print something out. Not too many other things you can use this for, because this isn't only an Intel Celeron at 1 gigahertz. It's only got 4 gigabytes of RAM. You can't expand upon that. One thing that's nice about the built-in speakers on this computer is that, unlike a lot of other cheaper laptops and netbooks, you can actually go in through HP's built-in program and customize the sound settings to suit your hearing preferences. And in my case, I definitely turned up the bass treble. I don't like to boost the dialogue clarity because that just makes everything sound really tinny like a telephone, because it boosts the mid-range frequencies that the human voice operates at, for lack of a better word, and I don't like that at all. So with these settings and nothing turned on the equalizer, the built-in audio is actually surprisingly good. Now I have to keep this sound demonstration incredibly brief because despite my extended hiatus from YouTube, I do have some understanding that YouTube has really curtailed the use of any kind of copyrighted music, even that which would fall under fair use. I think you used to be able to get away with 15 to 20 seconds of copyrighted content and would fall under fair use. Your video wouldn't be flagged for copyright infringement, but I think that's since changed now, and you have like something approaching probably 5 to 10 seconds before your video gets flagged for copyright. So this will have to be brief, but I'll definitely play a few different samples just to give a general idea of what kind of audio you can expect to hear from this computer. Alright, let's see if this works. Okay, with that out of the way, you're probably wondering how this computer performs on the modern web, and I must say it is decently fast. I have no major complaints about it. I am running Google Chrome right now, although it did come with the Microsoft Edge and Internet Explorer browsers. And I do continue to use Internet Explorer from time to time for non-compatible with, I guess, modern web browser websites and the like, such as security cameras and things like that need the ActiveX controls to function correctly. But other than that, I have to say it definitely is a lot quicker than a netbook. Not quite as fast as an actual desktop or laptop, but it definitely can keep up with the modern, bloated web of today. Everything seems to load just fine. Here's the New York Times website, which definitely is one of the heavier websites. And you can see just how quickly it loads for the most part. And I would say that's more than acceptable. It's not lagging. I can go ahead and click on an article and it loads quick as that. And I also have other tabs open, so it's not like, again, netbooks of yesteryear where you practically could only have a single tab open and no other running programs just to be able to load something with any semblance of speed. Here's the real test, trying to load a 4K video on this thing. Go ahead and sneak a peek at the stats here and see if we have any drop frames. And well, it seems like it is actually managing to keep up. It did lag a bit trying to go into full screen mode, and every now and again it does drop a frame or two. It's definitely a bit laggy though, I must say, on 4K mode. And then it clicks into full screen. Yeah, I see a few drop frames there, but aside from that, that is pretty impressive for a machine like this. And this is running Chrome. It may have better results using the Edge browser. Well, here we are. Believe it or not, it's almost a year after filming the first half of this video. And that was totally by chance. I planned on giving it a month or two to reevaluate my review of the computer. And now with it being over a year at this point, I think it's high time to give some closing thoughts on this HP stream. And honestly, it's not all that bad. You may recall in the original video, the beginning of the video, I had mentioned that I was using Internet Explorer to continue being able to access security cameras and the like that require ActiveX controls. And as it turns out, I no longer need to rely on Internet Explorer to accomplish that, thanks to Microsoft Edge's built-in Internet Explorer compatibility mode. Of course, there's still some hiccups along the way, like for example now Edge opened but it's not letting me do anything and just keeps dinging at me. Can't even close it, and this does happen regularly with a number of machines I have that run Windows 10. I'm assuming it's probably trying to bring a pop-up asking if we want to change the default browser, which seems to be standard behavior with Windows 10, but for whatever reason that pop-up is stuck behind this window. But this does happen from time to time. This is a minor annoyance. You have to go to the Task Manager and then manually quit Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge, such as the case may be, and then reopen it. That usually resolves the problem. Something that's a bit of a nuisance in my opinion, and I don't know if it's limited to just my experience or that of others, but it seems every time Microsoft updates Windows 10, it resets some facet of the operating system or its ancillary programs that you don't notice until you do notice it, and then it's just a pain in the rear trying to get things back to the way they once were. For example, I had everything configured as per my liking on Edge, my homepage settings. I was even signed in to sync data, but for whatever reason now after updating it's now signed me out, so I have to sign back in, and it also reset a number of my settings that were configured as per my liking here. And to be able to load older security camera web pages on my local network that require ActiveX controls, .ocx files to operate correctly. You can see here that I actually had previously enabled this, the allow sites to be reloaded in Internet Explorer mode, but for whatever reason it's been switched now to default, and you can see how the screen just zoomed in there. I can assure you I didn't do that intentionally. So I'm going to click allow, and then you need to restart the browser. And now if I click the three dots up here, I should be able to add this button. I have to go to an actual web page to do that. Also, something that I didn't care much for at first when I got this computer was its integrated Bluetooth, but I've learned that I really can't live without it, considering that I use this as a sort of movie and TV show entertainment PC. When I'm out and about or even home, I've installed the Amazon Prime video app that gives you free access to TV and movies using your Prime subscription, and using a pair of Bluetooth headphones or earphones I can listen wirelessly. And now with us being in March of 2022 and Windows 11 being out for a number of months at this point, Windows Update has now taken it upon itself to inform us that this PC can run Windows 11 because it does have Secure Boot TPM 2.0 and the processor is supported. I've actually put off the update so far because I'm still getting acquainted with Windows 10, as hard as it may be to believe that. There's still definitely a bit of a learning curve coming over from using Windows 7 for so many years after XP, but I honestly think I'm going to live with Windows 10 for a little while longer until possibly jumping ship to Windows 11 on here. I haven't really had any major issues or hiccups or problems, and I don't want to test my luck with Windows 11 and end up breaking something, but who knows, I've heard good things about Windows 11 so far. And also, unlike many of the other laptops that I've grown accustomed to using with worn out and tired batteries, the one that comes in here, albeit not serviceable nor replaceable, actually lasts an extremely long time. So overall, I have to say, I've had this computer for probably a year and a half at this point. I'm still using it. It's definitely not the fastest thing around, but it's definitely not the slowest. And if you want something that's portable, has good battery life, Bluetooth, a microphone, a web camera, and just a basic all-around netbook style laptop, I think this is a great computer. I just wish the touchpad had dedicated left and right click mouse buttons, because this integrated click style touchpad really doesn't do me any favors for productivity. But aside from that, I really don't have any major complaints about this computer.